Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
Turn on my mic. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. Today is Tuesday, which means that today is the BluePrint Power Hour with Coach Rob Regish. We'll get him on here in just a couple of seconds. Before I do that, I have to thank our title sponsor. Always thank our title sponsor. And hopefully you guys are thanking them too by buying their products. And that's Legendary Foods, makers of the Tasty Pastry. They make a lot more than just the Tasty Pastry, just for the record. They have the best seasoned almonds, the freshest. Like, you can tell when an almond isn't fresh. It smells like latex paint. They have the best almonds. And also, they have the best nut butters. If you like nut butters that are flavored but don't have any sugar, you have to check those out as well. And you can get the same discount on all of that other stuff if you use SHR10 when you visit shrnetwork.biz/legendary. And, of course, check out the Tasty Pastries because there's nothing like them. They're taking the world by storm. Hashtag better than a protein bar, and that's for sure. So check them out. Show them some love. Let them know Carl sent you. Let's get Coach Rob up here, play his music for him.
Calling all BluePrint Army. Fall in line. It's time for the BluePrint Power Hour with Coach Rob Regish on the Superhuman Radio Network.
Hey, Rob, how you doing?
I am doing well, and I'm happy we got a better connection this week.
Yes, Rob had to beat the cable guy up and get him to do the right thing, so that worked out good. Thank you. By the way, today is Tuesday. I'm getting a shipment of Tasty Pastries today. I can't wait.
What's their latest flavor? Was it the cinnamon, apple cinnamon?
I hope it was, because I told them apple turnover, and they're supposed to be making apple turnover flavor.
God, I can't wait for that. I love apple turnover.
I love apple turnover too, and that's why I said to Ron, Ron, like, apple turnover is a natural, like, winner.
Yeah.
And he wrote it down. Like, he says, okay, we'll make apple turnover.
That's just like that.
It's nice when you can influence a product that you like, you know.
Yeah.
It'd be like calling up, I don't know, Duncan Hines and say, hey, can you make a banana cream fudge cake mix for my wife and I to use?
Sure.
Yeah. I told Ron, he wrote it down. He goes, okay, we're going to make that. So I'm excited about that.
That's great.
I hope that is. Is that their latest flavor? Apple cinnamon?
I thought that was the last that I saw.
I mean, I hope that's it. I really do. That's amazing. It is. Yeah.
They're always got something new.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling much better. Thank you for asking. The leg, between some chiro adjustments, a little bit of inversion, some bridging, and training the rest of my body, it's getting better. It still hurts a little bit when I put pressure on it, but that's fertile ground for discussion later, given one of the questions that we got. So, yeah, but it's much better, and I'm hoping it will be 100% for my anniversary this weekend. The wife and I are going to New Hampshire.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yep.
Polo Dustino says, hit the like button, folks. Yeah, why don't you, for crying out loud? It looks like Taylor C is concurring. Apple cinnamon is amazing. Oh, my God, that's apple turnover to me.
That's great.
I can't wait to try it.
Yeah.
He also said, I'm afflicted to their, I think he means addicted, to their barbecue almonds and hot fudge sundae pastries. Yeah, I know. I mean, the stuff they put out is just amazing. It really, really is.
And they're still doing the nut butters, right?
Oh God, yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
those are so good.
I don't think they've
You,
changed those flavors. I think those are still
yeah.
pretty much the same.
What's amazing is you hardly hear of those, at least compared to the tasty pastries. And
I'm
you know
wondering. I'm
what? That's
wondering if Taylor C means the apple cinnamon nut butter is amazing. He's right if that's what he's talking about because I
yeah.
that's the one I love the most.
Oh, it sounds good.
Yeah. So I've got some pain in my lower back. I become very aggressive of using the inversion table to reverse the L4 L5 S1 squash discs that I've developed over the years.
Wow.
And so a lot of times when you're fixing something, it hurts.
Mm,
You know, a lot of oh no, he's saying no, the pastry. Okay, so they did come out with it. That's awesome. I can't wait
cool.
to get mine.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of times the road back is just as painful as the road into injury. So yeah, it's I've been hanging for 3 to 5 minutes, like 4 or 5 times a day,
Oh,
and
str-
I'm pulling. I grab the bars, the uprights on
yep.
the inversion table, and I pull and I jiggle my hips and I hump the air and I move around like I want to get that vertebrae moving again, and it hurts. It hurts today.
Can you feel it when it pops? Like it's
I
amazing
hear
to
them.
me.
I hear them. I hear
Yeah,
them.
you can hear them and you can feel them. And they're like pop, and you can actually physically feel your body slide down. Like another half inch.
Yeah, you get
It's
taller.
yeah, it's incredible. It
There's
really
no doubt
is.
about it. And I don't feel my vertebrae popping as often anymore because I do use the inversion table 8 9 times a week.
Right.
But I'm using it like 5 6 times a day right now.
Wow.
I
I
do it
used to
in the
once a week.
morning. I do it before I get on the bike and ride out.
Right.
I do it as soon as I come home and I've been on the bike because that's you're sitting and you're bouncing.
Right.
So that's kind of going to reverse. It's going to compress the lumbar spine. And then I do it a couple more times, usually before dinner, after dinner, and then right before bed, I hang the longest. I bring the phone with me and I look at videos, and I probably hang there for a good 10, 12 minutes.
After hanging that long, is it painful to when get yourself
No,
back up?
in fact, getting off, there's no pain. That's how I know I'm doing the right thing by
Good.
stretching that out.
Good.
I
Good.
walk off. I walk away from there with less pain than I got on when I started to hang.
Yeah. Well,
That's how
that's
I know it's where I'm like I'm doing something good. If I'm doing this and it makes the back pain go away, then the goal has to be to do it more often until the back pain doesn't come back.
exactly right.
At least that's what I think. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, all right. Let's get right to the questions.
Sure.
Feel free to ask questions live if you're watching live. We will work every question into the show. This one comes from Angelo DeMarco, no doubt an Italian guy like me. You've mentioned on several occasions that you've been training for over 35 years. What would you say is the most important thing you've learned?
Wow. um, it's not as easy an answer as one would think, because I've learned virtually every lesson the hard way. So there's plenty of material to pick from, and so I had to kind of think long and hard about this. If I had to cite one, though, it would be this: you need to play the long game, right? And so looking back, the root cause of many of my mistakes was trying to obtain something or achieve something too soon, too fast, whatever you want to call it. And look, when you're young or even not not so young, you want everything now, right? And unfortunately, the world in our culture in particular reinforces this everywhere you look, right? You want the big screen TV but don't have the money? No problem. Put it on credit. Buy now, pay later. So which is not a good policy, at least in my opinion. And it's even worse today, right? Because people that want to achieve something in physical culture will often go to YouTube and see people performing feats of strength that they can only dream about, right? So if you want a 500-pound squat, there's plenty of kids your age and younger that can do it, and a lot heavier probably if you keep looking. Uh, to a certain extent, it was the same deal back in the day when the magazines were where you went to kind of find out how you measured up. And so you'd see picture after picture of, XYZ bodybuilder, whoever your hero is, lifting huge weights. I mean, just enormous amounts of weight. Sometimes on exercises that aren't designed to lift huge amounts of weight. It's what you don't see, though, that really matters. So what you don't see ranges from the sacrifices that these men made to get that big and strong, to the fact that, frankly, many of the plates being lifted were nothing but styrofoam. Uh, and that was exposed multiple times, and it wasn't just Weeder pulling that trick. I mean, if you think about it, they don't shoot pics of the champs in the off season, right? When they're fat or fatter than what they normally are. They always, they're taking pictures right around the contest time. And so, you're talking about 16-week diets and God knows what else. You're in a very depleted state. And if you've ever been in anything close to that type of condition, it is not conducive to lifting heavy. All right. At least whatever's heavy for you. Now, to be clear, yeah, there's some guys capable of moving insanely heavy weights no matter what shape they were in. Ronnie Coleman comes to mind. Coleman he's known for his 8 Olympia wins. But today, at age 57, he's a physical wreck. He has, and these are his words, lost track of the number of surgeries that he's had for his back, for his intestines, and God knows what else. But he does know one figure associated with all those surgeries, $2 million, which is what those surgeries apparently cost him out of pocket. I would not be surprised if that was, you know, as much or exceeding the amount of contest money that he won. Despite that, he will tell you two things. One, most of it was as a result of lifting too heavy too often, and two, it was all worth it. Now, good for him. I mean, the guy has an incredibly positive attitude for a person that's in that kind of shape right now, which is rough, to say the least. But for every Ronnie Coleman, there are 1,000 average Joes out there who have nothing but pain and medical bills to show for those kind of shortcuts, I'll call them. Pushing your body to do something before it's ready. Nobody knows who they are. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to give them money for their medical bills. So I would tell you to focus on the long game. Forget the shortcuts, because there's a price to pay for every one of them. Maybe not immediately, but later on. One more pound, one more rep. Be precise, methodical, and consistent. That is how you get to squatting 500 pounds, not 90 pounds at a time. It's a very rare individual, even young people, who can slap another 90 pounds on the bar and make that jump. It just doesn't happen. That is the long game. So learn to revel in it, right? The bleeding, the grind, the sacrifice. And one day, you're going to wake up and realize it's really the journey that's important and not necessarily the destination.
And if you use small steps to increase your strength, you're not going to injure yourself like some of us idiots who. I was a 90-pound guy. I always added a 45 plate on each side, and that must be my next progression. You know what I mean?
Wow. I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah. So that's how I got myself in trouble more than anything else.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to a live question here.
Sure.
Horn Frog, who's watching on YouTube, says, got an email last night from a supplement company saying its laxogenin product is now being discontinued. Said the FDA banned the ingredient yesterday. Shocked but not surprised. Have you heard anything about this?
Yeah, this actually happened some time ago. Laxogenin apparently fell on the wrong side of the FDA at some point. They are maintaining, I think, that it is not a natural compound. It is not found in nature. That's very debatable, very debatable. But the problem is, in making your case to the FDA, you're talking of tens of thousands of dollars in lawyer fees and all this other nonsense. And predictably, most U.S. companies have dropped laxogenin, not all of them, but most, from their product line. I still use it in Progenadrex, but it's worth pointing out that that's sold by Predator over in the
UK.
UK.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's true what they're saying about the FDA. Do I think was there any reason to ban it because of danger or problems? No, there's no safety issues with Laxogen, and it's simply structural. And probably some of the claims these guys were making because they were claiming it acted like testosterone. It acts nothing like testosterone.
So they got themselves in trouble by lying.
They got everybody in trouble. I mean, once you open the door and give them Laxogen, and because of its chemical structure, what's to stop them from banning other products, N-acetylcysteine, which is cysteine with acetyl groups. Does that occur in nature? Not that I'm aware. That's going to give them ammunition to ban it. Terrible, terrible stuff.
And then Polo Destino comment. Speaking of the surgery, you get my email question about the financial aspect of it. Sent it before your vacation call. I did not get it. I'll have to go back. I apologize. I get over it. But yeah, I mean, I've had 2 foot surgeries, 1 surgery to reattach my left tricep. I didn't do anything about the hamstring. I didn't do anything about the left bicep. But yeah, I mean, it's very expensive to injure yourself on top of everything else.
Yeah, I mean, it's psychological, it's emotional, and it's financial. And for a lot of people, medical bills are what put them in the poorhouse, so to speak, bankruptcy.
And Taylor C comments, the older I get, the more I have to train intuitively. You have to check the ego a lot. And that's my big problem, checking the ego. That's why I've injured myself. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I should have taken off the days that I trained. But, the only bad training day is a mistraining day and all that other rubbish, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I knew I had something going on. My hamstrings felt really weird and tight that day. And I was working my way up slowly to my top deadlift. And I think I had 495 on the bar. And I had come up with 495 before. I mean, it was no big deal. But this time I came up and I heard that pop in my left leg. And I thought I broke my hip. It was so loud inside my body.
Yeah.
It was like a gunshot to me, like a gunshot. And I realized that the guy standing on the platform with me, and I think it was John Evans, Mark Evans, his middle name is John. I think he heard it too because he looked at me and I just dropped the bar. And I knew something was wrong, and I took a step to see if my hip was broken. I thought I couldn't walk, and I walked, and I was able to walk. And then all of a sudden, I just got this weakness that came over me.
Yeah.
And I walked over to a bench, and I sat down in it, and I put my face in my hand, and I couldn't lift my face off of my hands, and sweat was just pouring off of me. And Elisa said, "Should I call an ambulance?" And I just had enough strength to say, "No, just let me sit here." And I sat there probably for a good real time, 10 or 15 minutes before I was able to take my face out of my hands and stand up.
And so what was the issue with getting the face out of the hands? If it was
I was too weak. I was so weak. I couldn't move. I was so weak. Like after it happened, my whole body just shut down.
Yeah, I've had that in my left leg, and to this day, it's the scariest injury that I've had. I successfully rehabbed it, but man, I'll tell you, when you cannot exert, the kind of force that you need to walk, that's a scary thing, man. Real scary.
I knew something was wrong, and I couldn't tell what at that point in time. But then the next morning, all of the yellow and purple at the base, like right behind the knee and above it, the blood flowed down into there, and then I knew what happened. I knew.
Was it a complete tear?
3 attachments. Excuse me. It's called an avulsion. The muscles actually took pieces of the bone with it.
Wow.
So the bone where it was attached broke and let the muscle go.
least when you did it, you went all the way, man.
Yeah.
That's
And now it's the weirdest thing. Like when I do leg curls, I have this lump in my hamstring because those muscles are still trying to pull. They're just not attached to anything.
yeah,
So
oh, wow.
I envision like a burlap bag filled with snakes, like they're undulating and moving. The muscles are going, what's wrong? Why can't we pull?
Yeah. Yeah.
He said he'll send it to another. Yeah, just send it again. I'm sure it'll get here. Just send that email again. And apparently, Horn Frog just posted on the FDA website. It shows there's the warning letters just went out. Does that mean? So, what are the warning letters? Do they have to stop selling it immediately?
Well, they'll probably put a copy of it up on the FDA's website for the whole world to see. I don't know if it's a cease and desist. I don't know if it's we're gonna kick your doors down and confiscate your supply, and that's happened. I mean, fortunately not too often, but it's happened to supplement companies that continue to flagrantly, violate the FDA's rules. So,
Well, that's why Aaron Singerman's in jail today. They got
yeah,
a letter saying that Superdrol, whatever it was, the dimethadrine that they were selling, had been a banned substance. So they got that letter, that warning letter, and I guess instead of stopping selling, they doubled down and sold more faster. Because they figured nobody else has it, we're going to keep selling it. And all those years later, I mean, that happened 9-10 years ago that they did that.
Yeah.
At Blackstone, and they finally, had the case, and here he is. He's in jail for 5 years now for that. That's not worth it. I don't care. No money is worth it if you have to go to jail for it. Now, there are some people that would argue that supposedly, I don't know how true this is, but the private equity firm that came in and invested in Redcon One gave Aaron Singerman $200 million. Now, if that's true, then I guess 5 years in jail and you get out and you have $200 million. I mean, worst things. Look, there's people who go into the military for 4 years and come home. There's people who go and work on a pipeline in Alaska and don't see their family for years, and they come home, but they've got money. So maybe it is worth it. I don't know, but to me, it wouldn't be.
Yeah, me neither. Well, that's an interesting story. Do you know if they just disregarded the letter, or?
Of course they did. They got the letter and they just kept selling it anyway.
No response at all.
They didn't respond, you mean, to the letter?
Right.
I don't think they responded to it. I mean, if they would have responded to it, they would have had to acknowledge that they were selling it and they stopped. I think what they did was they ignored the letter and they just kept selling it. And that's why PJ Braun's in jail too.
Yeah. Do you get 5 years too?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, that's too bad.
5 years is a long effing time.
Especially
really
for kids, young kids.
Yeah. Aiden Ray says, speaking of injury, what's your go-to dose on BPC 157? Do you have one, Rob?
I haven't used it in so long. I can't even remember.
500 micrograms is my go-to dose. 0.5 milligram. Injected, not oral. That's mine. I mean, I'll take a milligram if I have a really, really bad injury. Post-surgery, I would take a milligram a day easily. But yeah, 500 micrograms is my go-to dose daily. I take that every day.
Do you find that in any form or fashion reset your tolerance to stimulants?
Mm-mm.
Because I keep hearing about guys. Oh yeah, I got on BPC 157 and now my stimulants work again. So I don't know. I was just curious.
There is something in fish. For those of us who eat fish, there is something in fish that allows stimulants to work. I forget what it's called, but stimulants don't work for me at all anymore. I've abused them. In fact, I've abused stimulants for so long that I could take a C4 and drink it and go to sleep.
That's saying something.
Yeah.
With your him?
It's sad. It's sad.
Yeah.
Henry Kozlowski says, I was just diagnosed with the vertebrae out of alignment by my chiropractor. L4, L5. I'm not in a lot of pain, but it's enough to keep me from squatting. If I can't squat, what else can I do to build my legs?
I can certainly speak to this one because I've done the exact same thing, and You know, I've lived through it. Everything from it really screws you up. You know, especially when your entire self worth is wrapped up in your squat.
Mhm.
But listen, first things first. When most people say, well, you know, I can't squat, what they really mean is they can't barbell back squat. Realize though that the squat is not a single exercise. It's a whole family of different types of squats. And I've always said to people, hey, you still use toilet seat, then you can squat. It's only a matter of what kind can your body do given your particular injury. Um, Barbell squats are only one variation. You know, belt squats, particularly if they have a belt squat machine, but if not, the Iron Mind uh, hip belt squat is an excellent piece of equipment. It takes all of the vertical compression off of the spine, and you can work your legs into the ground. And when you fail, you will trip, you know, truly exhaust your legs. Uh, Body weight squats by themselves are an excellent exercise. Wall squats, my wife does wall squats using a ball, right? So one of the exercise balls, and it has done wonders for her. It really has. I am doing and have been doing for a little while one-legged squats, right? AKA pistols. Um, but if you can't do those freestanding, then by all means, you know, hold on to TRX straps for balance and assistance and do them. That's a great way to learn them. Bulgarian split squats are another great one. Landmine squats with the barbell jammed in the corner, dumbbell squats. The front squat was not a movement that I ever liked or got much out of. I don't know why, but uh, it's an option to consider. Zercher squats. It's been a long time since I've done a
The only
Zercher
problem with
squat.
Zercher squats is it really depends on how strong your arms are.
Right, the
Because
crook in your
I
arms.
I used to watch Dan Mather do Zercher squats with 405.
My
Having
God.
405 cradled in your the creases of your elbows, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean that takes a lot of it's painful. You have to ignore the pain. That's what
yeah.
you have to do.
That's incredible. Boy, I would love to see that.
Yeah.
But you know, Zercher squats, sissy squats. Um, there was something, I don't know if it's still sold, called the Zane leg blaster.
That's still around.
Is it? Okay, so Frank
It's
Zane,
basically a really, really great way to do a sissy squat with weight. The weight goes on the front
right,
because you have this kind of metal vest that has the spikes on it, and you put plates on it.
right.
Pretty cool. I
It's
mean, you could
really
do the
cool.
same. You could do the same thing with a heavy weight vest. I mean, really, when you think about it. But yeah, back then they didn't have weight vests.
Yeah, it's unique. It's you know, so if you've never tried it, you know, by all means, give it a shot. Um, Leverage squats. A lot of gyms now, right, have leverage squat machines. I think they're excellent. For some reason, they're much easier on the lower back. It might not take it out of the movement completely, but you know, quite a bit. There's also something called the True Squat. Some gyms have that machine. Certainly, most gyms have Hack Squat, right? Hack Squat machine. Prisoner Squat, which is just a body weight squat with your hands behind your head, fingers interlaced. And so, even assuming you go through all of those and you can't do any of them, then there are step one in convict conditioning for the one-legged squat or air squats, which are simply, you know, these are for people coming out of hospitals, right, and elderly. You lie on your back, you use your hands to push your hips up into the air, and you extend your legs as high to the ceiling as you can, then back down. And then rinse, wash, and repeat. Now, I know most people are thinking, gee, there's nothing to that. Well, you'd be surprised, right? Especially if you have flexibility issues, and it can do a body good. So it's also an excellent core exercise.
Well, and let's not forget Mike Matarazzo, who won the Olympia one year, had an
Did he?
insane physique. Yeah, yeah.
I didn't think he did, but
Uh, maybe I'm wrong. Let's see. Hold on a second.
this is the guy with
Oh,
the calves from Boston, right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't
Um,
think maybe he did. I don't
he
know.
never squatted. In fact, he was a. Let's see what comes up. Um, he never squatted, and he was a vocal dissident. He said no one needs to squat. No one needs to put their back at that kind of risk to build legs. All he ever did was leg extensions, leg curls, and leg presses, and he had crazy legs. Let's see.
And I'll never forget. His calves were nuts. They're
Yeah,
absolutely crazy.
yeah,
And
he
so,
had very, very long. In fact, his calves were like down by his ankles. Like he had the longest calf muscle bellies I've ever seen on a human being.
yeah, the attachment points were down
Yeah.
ridiculously.
It went from like the back of his heel up to his
Right.
knee, like his
He's
calf.
Yeah, he's on record as saying that his dad. He said, "My dad has got better calves than I do. He's never trained a day in his life." So, that kind of tells you,
Yeah, that's
right?
genetics. That's genetics. But let's
Yeah.
see if I'm almost positive. Um, oh, maybe he never did win the Mr. Olympia. I was
Yeah.
wrong.
I don't follow it, but for some reason I was
That,
stuck.
hold on. We're not done yet. We're not stopping yet. Maybe yeah, he never won the Olympia, but he was on the Olympia stage and he was that quality of an athlete and he never squatted. And he said people don't have to squat.
Yeah.
In
Yeah,
fact,
Vince.
he used to like say only idiots squat.
Vince Gironda banned squat racks in his gym.
Did he really? He didn't
Yeah,
believe in the squat either?
he said all the squat would do is give you a big ass.
Yeah.
That was
But you know
before.
what? But that's a good thing, actually. Let's see here. We have a question from Polo Dustino. Polo. I've been trying to buy Phenibut capsules lately, but seems like it's out of stock or not sold anywhere. Are we seeing shortages of perhaps a ban? It's been banned a long time ago.
It may have been banned, but he is correct in that more than a few companies were still selling
Yeah,
capsules.
they're
And
outside the country. They're outside the United States, but it's been banned. And for a long time, pharmacists could still use it, and doctors could prescribe it.
mhm.
But then, about 2 years ago, compounding pharmacists received a letter from the FDA banning their use of Phenibut because there was pharmacists out there that were making some really great sleep aids. Phenibut's a magic product,
Yeah.
and I like people used to take insane doses, 300 milligrams, 400 milligrams. Like all I needed was like 60 milligrams, and it made me sleep better.
Wow, you're very sensitive, huh, to some of
Yeah,
those compounds.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the supply chain issue or they're clamping down harder than before. I tend to think it's the prior reason, um, possibly the supply chain. 90% of the Phenibut you see sold out there is coming from China, and we know there have been disruptions. And
Yeah, they're probably putting whatchamacallit, fentanyl now.
oh, jeez, yeah. So
Because
you know,
China's putting fentanyl in everything, and they're sending it to the United States to kill all of our young people. Make no bones
yeah,
about
yeah, and please don't underestimate the power and the addictive potential of that compound. It is, you get it in the right dose, man. It'll knock you out, and if you take too much, it'll be like the worst, drinking night you ever had.
it.
There's a
Yeah,
lot of the same similarities. You'll be spinning, you'll be very confused, you'll be slurring your words. Don't ask me how I know this. I just read it somewhere.
yeah.
But it's addictive as hell too. So if you can stay away, if not, use it twice a week, 3 times at the most.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we have lots of questions. We'll get to the live questions faster on the way out of the break because you guys are watching now. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Superhuman Radio. Plant medicine has become all the rage for mental optimization. Now there's an ancient plant medicine rapidly growing in popularity that experts believe might just be the alcohol of the future. It's called True Kava. Kava is a natural food-grade elixir that has been used for over 3,000 years by South Pacific Islanders as safe, non-addictive alternative to drugs and alcohol. By naturally boosting the brain's main feel-good chemicals, dopamine, serotonin, and GABA, Kava provides you with both increased relaxation and mental clarity at the same time. True Kava is a new form of stabilized full-spectrum traditional Kava that is third-party lab tested for quality and safety. Go to shrnetwork.biz/true Kava, and that's TRUKAVA, all one word, and use code SHR for 25% off today. I would easily say that I am the hugest proponent you will ever meet to doing anything that will improve the quality of my sleep. And that's because sleep is linked to just about every metabolic disorder we see in our population today. One of the easiest things you can do to improve the quality of your sleep is to get a pillow that can be shaped into the exact form factor that allows you to get your best night's sleep. And that is MyPillow. I've been sleeping with MyPillow for a few years now, and I can tell you that when I have to travel and stay in hotels, I don't get a good night's sleep because I don't have MyPillow with me. Right now, you can save up to 60% off of everything offered to improve the quality of your sleep at shrnetwork.biz/MyPillow when you use the code SHR. Or you can call toll-free 800-889-4938. And remember to use code SHR to save up to 60% off of everything at their website. If you'd like a shortcut to better sleep, more energy, and calmer, more stable moods, then you should make sure you're supplementing with magnesium daily. Let me tell you why. About 75% of people are magnesium deficient. This deficiency can lead to higher levels of anxiety, irritability, trouble sleeping, and low energy. It can even contribute to foot and leg cramps while you sleep. Magnesium Breakthrough by Bioptimizers is the single best magnesium supplement in the world. Simply take 2 capsules before you go to bed, and you'll be amazed by the improvements in your mood and energy levels and how much more rested you feel when you wake up. I take Magnesium Breakthrough every night, and I sleep better because I use it. Go to magbreakthrough.com/SHR and use the code SHR10 during checkout to save 10% off and get free shipping. Check it out. If you've listened to Superhuman Radio for any length of time, you know I'm a big proponent of peptides. One of my favorites is GHKCU, the blue copper peptide. It has the ability to repair and regenerate more youthful expressions of skin cells, reversing the signs of aging. Restore Cell's Stem Cell Awakening Serum, along with their other products, contain potent formulations of blue copper peptide and only the highest quality organic ingredients. Superhuman Radio listeners can now save 25% site-wide. Buy their complete set and receive a free exfoliating cleanser. Go to shrnetwork.biz/blue and use the code SHR25. That's SHR25. Remodel your skin today. Are you 35 or older? Every year after puberty, your growth hormone decreases sometimes by 50% by the age of 35, and it only keeps going down from there. This affects everything from making it harder to recover from workouts, sleep, and a general loss of a sense of well-being. It also affects your ability to get and stay lean. BioPro Plus is the first of its kind, 100% non-synthetic alternative to prescription synthetic growth hormone treatments. All the benefits without any of the needles or side effects and 100% safe. Previously only available through doctors, you can go to shrnetwork.biz/biopro, that's BIOPRO, and use code SHR30 for $30 off today.
Spit that out right now. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Hey, welcome back. We got lots of questions lining up from the live audience. Let's go to those first since they're here. Oh, man, we got a bunch of them. Where do I start? Let's start with Chris K. Chris K says, my dad has really bad inflammation levels and arthritis. As with many parents, it's hard to get them to listen. Yeah, I know. Do you have any recommendations for oral peptides or supplements? And he won't inject, unfortunately. But he'll let his doctor inject them, I bet.
Right. Yeah, I do. On the supplement front, curcumin and fish oil would probably be your 2 better anti-inflammatories. And can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound good.
So those would be your better anti-inflammatories. There's also research showing that the combination offsets muscle loss, and during inactivity. So there are a ton of anti-inflammatory type things that he could use. I would put those 2 in the top 3 or 4. Cesis and maybe Boswellia serrata being another.
The first thing is get all the carbs out of his diet, but he won't do that. Green leafy vegetables and stuff like that are fine, right. But the bread, the pasta, the sugars, like everybody who does this, they always seem amazed. Like, oh yeah, I went carnivore, or I went keto, or I just went ultra low carb. I'm doing Atkins. I'm only eating 30 grams of carbs a day. funny thing, my knees don't hurt anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a study that showed, we talked about it years ago on the show, that the only macronutrient that caused an inflammatory response in the body was carbohydrates. Not fat, not protein. And I know there's people out there like Lane Norton who say, there's no such thing as a pro-inflammatory food. And I think he's talking about it in a different context, to be honest with you. But when you cut the starchy and sugary carbs out, forget about the if it fits my macros because you're dieting. When you remove things like that from the diet, your overall inflammation drops dramatically. Number one. So the first, it's not enough to take a supplement. You can't start painting the walls in a house that's recently caught fire until you put the fire out. Right? It's a waste of time to go, oh, the house is on fire. We're going to have to paint the walls anyway. Let's get busy painting them now before the fire department gets out. No, it doesn't work. You need the fire department to show up, put the fire out, and then you can start repairing and rebuilding. So I would stress to your father to try it for 2 weeks. I'd say, Dad, just humor me. For 2 weeks, no bread, no pasta, no sweet drinks, no orange juice. Cut back on your sugar. Keep your total carbohydrate intake to under 50 grams a day and make that Mediterranean-style carbohydrates. Fruits, limited fruits, vegetables, green vegetables, yellow whatever. And in 2 weeks, he's going to say, my God, my knees don't hurt anymore. Okay, now we have evidence that the inflammation, that the gasoline is being removed. Let's go ahead and fix this now. Then I would turn to things like you said, curcumin. I would take large doses of fish oil. I take 1.4, so that's 4, 5. I take 6 grams of fish oil a day, of which each capsule is 980 milligrams of omega-3s.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, I do. But you know what? Keeps my blood thin.
Right.
But I can tell a difference in my pain levels when I don't. Now, that takes another couple weeks to get to you can't just, it's not like taking a leave and you go, oh, it's working already. No, the stuff that really works fixing the problem instead of masking the problem takes a couple weeks to kick in. So get yourself a good curcumin. Get yourself, Costco has nature-made fish oil capsules, cheap, enterically coated. I never get the burps from them. And each one of them is 1,400 milligrams with a total of 980 milligrams of omega-3s. I take 4 of those a day with a meal. And then the other thing is trimethylglycine. Trimethylglycine is a sleeper when it comes to lowering chronic inflammation. And just need like 1,200 to 2,000 milligrams a day. That's it.
Yeah, it'll lower homocysteine too nicely.
And so will creatine.
Yeah, related to the anti-inflammatory.
Yeah, and so will creatine. So get him some creatine, and that'll help his muscles work better too. Aiden Ray says to Coach, hip belt squats wreck a few years ago. I don't know, REC. Saved my ASS after a torn disc in the lumbar area. After a year of that, allowing the back to heal, I was able to return to barbell back squats again. Thanks. That was your recommendation.
Yeah, I think
you
that's
recommended.
What it means. Yeah, and you know what? That's great to hear, because not just I was able to help. That's going to give a lot of people out there with this injury or something similar hope. And you need to, you need that. You need to know that I have done it successfully, got over that hump. He has done it, and there's a whole bunch of people out there that use the hip belt squat as part of the solution, and it's a big part of the solution. At least it was when I hurt my back. Still is.
I guess Polo Destino found the Phenibut at the Nootropics Depot, and they shipped it to him, and he doesn't use more than a gram total a week.
Wow.
Craig Hollander talking about squats. He says squats don't just help you achieve muscular toned legs. They promote body-wide muscle building by creating an anabolic environment in the body. They work up your quadriceps, hamstrings, calves, abdominal muscles, lower back, and your butt too. And I would offer that deadlifts do a better job. Deadlifts do everything that the squat does, plus builds your traps, your upper back, your shoulder girdle, and your grip, your forearms, your biceps, and everything.
Yeah,
But
that's an age-old argument, right? Squat versus deadlift. But I would agree with you 100%. I think by virtue of the fact that the deadlift involves more total muscle mass to complete the lift.
Well, and let's also talk about the general kinetics of the movements. So the squat, you're starting in the strongest position, and you're technically preloading the muscles as you come down in order to spring back up. With the deadlift, as the name implies, it's dead. It's dead weight. There's no preload to the muscle, which has been shown to, the same thing with the bench press. Everybody talks about, the bottom up bench press is a killer. Sure, it's very different than a normal bench press because you're not preloading the muscles, where you're literally building potential energy and then you're busting out of it. And the same thing is true of the squat. You're building potential energy as you go into the bottom of the squat to spring back out. The deadlift is, as it says, dead weight, no preload, no potential energy, pull it off the ground.
Yeah, I'm doing that actually on handstand shoulder presses right now. Instead of trying to get up into a full handstand, I pop up there, I balance on my head and push up from the bottom. And yeah, it's much harder, but you build a lot more strength. It just feels that way.
I'll also make you a bet.
Okay.
Someone's going to come out with this study. So many things that I've said on the show over the years have come true. So many things. It's ridiculous. Like, I argued that, I get no respect. I'm the Rodney Dangerfield of health and fitness podcasting. I know. So for years, I said metformin's a bad idea. It's going to promote sarcopenia. In fact, there are some cancers now tied to it, but that's okay. And I had a lot of people come on this show, Jay Campbell included, tell me I was crazy. Metformin is magic. I heard guys at my gym say, I'm juicing, but I'm taking metformin and I don't see any changes. Well, sure, you're juicing. But I said metformin causes sarcopenia, muscle loss. The study was just published this year that proves that I was right. There was no study when I said it. But the other thing I'm going to say, God, I'm sorry.
How did you deduce that? Just from
because of its effects on mTOR1C, specifically. So I and look at fat diabetic people who take metformin. They don't get lean.
Right.
They don't build muscle. If anything, they lose muscle and get fatter and fatter. Like, why? Why even bother with this stuff? But anyway, I will make you a bet that men who squat into their 60s and 70s don't have erectile dysfunction. Ask me why.
Why?
What's all the rage right now? There's a new app out having guys do Kegels. You know what a Kegel is? You squeeze your butt real tight. Like, let's say you're peeing and you want to shut your pee off. Those muscles down there, boom, you shut them, you clamp them down.
Right.
And so they're telling guys, well, if you do Kegels, you won't get erectile dysfunction as you age. Well, you know what the strongest Kegel in the world is? Put 400, 500 pounds on your back, sit down with it and come up and keep from shitting yourself. That's it. That's a master Kegel. Believe me, I'm telling you, I know more guys who crap themselves squatting. So, like, if you don't want to crap yourself squatting, you got to really, like, not only are you focusing on the weight, but you're focusing on keeping your butthole clenched. That's a super Kegel. I'll bet you guys who squat in their 60s and 70s have zero problems with erectile dysfunction.
Or train fasted.
Watch, and a study will come out in a couple of years saying that those types of movements prevent you from getting erectile dysfunction.
And you get no credit.
I get no credit for it. Let's see here. So Peter Kranatakis, I always butcher his name. I'm sorry. He's a big fan of the show. I sometimes get numbness in my hands to the point my touch sensation gets affected. Yes. The numbness sometimes become very severe while sleeping on my back, which is my normal position to sleep in. No issues of prediabetes or any known circulatory issues. My grip strength has not been affected, Any remedies or possible help? So we're going to talk about something later in the show in greater degree, but I'll tell you my theories on this now. I don't know if you're getting it in your feet too. If you're still watching, maybe you can comment. So this phenomenon that you're experiencing isn't really numbness. It's called hyperalgesia. It's the nerves being overwhelmed in that vicinity. I've come to the conclusion that the reason people get neuropathy has nothing to do with diabetes. Metabolic debris gets trapped in the hands because of gravity. Our hands are usually at our side. And because of the narrow blood flow, because these are small, tight turns and small blood vessels, and causes this phenomenon of hyperalgesia. We see it in men as they get to 60 years and older. They get numbness in their hands and feet. It's called hands and gloves. At one time, it was thought to be a possible B vitamin deficiency, which it could be in your case, by the way. Just because you take B vitamins doesn't mean that they're working for you. Injectable B vitamin will work then, complex. But I'm coming to the conclusion, I don't know if you eat red meat or if you eat a lot of it, but iron overload could be causing this problem. But it's an interesting situation that's plaguing lots of men and women in the United States, but mostly men. And it's not easy to explain. It's not easy to explain. But I do believe it has to do with blood flow more than anything else.
It's a great theory. Like you said, it'll probably be proven in 10 years in some study. I have only experienced that once or twice in my life, and frankly, it was an overuse injury. So, I backed off on what I was doing, some of the movements that I was doing, and sure enough, it got better. The only time I seem to experience any tingling in the hands or whatnot is if I'll fall asleep with my hands above my head. But
that's blood flow. That's blood flow.
That's a good point.
Your hand is going to sleep. I used to do that, and then I slept for about 2 weeks with a belt and a rope around my wrists, so I couldn't raise my hands more than this. So I couldn't throw them up over my head in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
This is really fascinating. Mark David John Evans was the guy I was talking about the day I tore 3 hamstring attachments. He was the one that was standing on the platform with me. He said one more reason not to skip leg day. I'm sure he was talking about the erectile dysfunction part. Now, Mark is in his 60s, and he lifts heavy. In fact, he has pulled a deadlift 4 times body weight.
Jesus, that's incredible.
He's a
in
strong ass dude. I don't want to make him older than he is, but I want to say he's like 66, 67.
Yeah.
And I bet you he doesn't have erectile dysfunction because he squats and deadlifts very heavy. Yeah. And you gotta, when you're squatting and deadlifting, you gotta keep your butt clenched. Like, forget about the app and the Kegels. Just get down on the ground and do a little squat and deadlift session. There you go.
Yeah.
Peter says no issues in his feet, only in his hand. Also, if you're using growth hormone is notorious for causing numbness in the hands. The other thing that made me think of this is you could be developing carpal tunnel syndrome. Because supposedly growth hormone causes numbness in the hands and fingers because the soft tissue in the carpal tunnel grows just like all the other cartilage in your body, and it causes pressure on the blood flow to the hands. So you could be developing that. One more live question, then we're going to take a break. Oh, I'm sorry. He's a very honest guy. Not 4 times his body weight, 3 times his body weight. Okay,
that's still incredible.
Yeah, it is, and he's 66 years old.
That's awesome.
God bless him, huh?
Yeah, fantastic.
He's my hero. All right, Bob says, I have a dear friend who is 75 and his upper body looks like a bodybuilder, but his legs are continually losing muscle no matter what he does with the weights. Any suggestions? Actually, this is part of a question, right? So let's take the break and go right to that question when we come back.
Sure.
Okay, this phenomenon that why we think men, it always says as you get older, your legs go first. I have some theories on why that is. All right, we're going to take one quick commercial break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Superhuman Radio. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today. Most people have heard of phytoestrogens, but did you know there are beneficial phytoandrogens? The top source of these is pine pollen. It even contains trace amounts of testosterone and DHEA. If you're looking for a 100% natural testosterone booster, this is worth trying. Lots of men love it, and it even works for women. Lost Empire Herbs offers the highest quality wild harvested, non-irradiated pine pollen backed by a 365-day money-back guarantee. It works for you, or you don't have to pay for it with nothing to send back. Go to shrnetwork.biz/lost empire. Use code SHR. Get 15% off your order today. C60, also known as Buckminster fullerene, is the most powerful, most versatile antioxidant in the world. It's been shown in studies to double the lifespan of rodents. We all know the importance of taking antioxidants to slow aging, reduce inflammation, and improve mitochondrial function and energy production. But there are literally hundreds of antioxidants that would cost you thousands of dollars to take every day. I take one. I take C60 from C360 Health. Revive and Rejuvenate are two blends that harness the power of C60. Don't waste another minute. Go to shrnetwork.biz/revive and use the code SHR for 15% off and free shipping inside the United States today.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Dogs should be powered by fat and protein, not carbs. That's why Visionary Pet makes low-carb, ketogenic dog food for dogs of all breeds and life stages. From kibble to freeze-dried and even low-carb treats, all Visionary Pet recipes are very low-carb, ketogenic, and made with 100% real meat protein. Shop now and use code SHR for 20% off your first order today. Your dog deserves the lifelong benefits of optimal nutrition. Make the switch to Visionary and see why smart dogs eat low carb.
You're listening to the Superhuman Channel. Don't hate us because we feel good.
Welcome back. We got lots of questions. One of these days we need to do a show without any writing questions.
Well, why not?
Just do everything off the air live.
Yeah.
So Mark said no comment when I asked if he had erectile dysfunction. He's too what's the word I'm looking for?
Honest.
What's that?
Honest.
Yeah. Let's see here. So let's go ahead and find this other question so we can add it to this discussion. Which question was it? Was it from Gabriel Moore?
Gabriel Shaw.
I'm sorry, Gabriel Shaw. It's a long question, but it speaks to the other question. He said, you made a comment that the lower body strength is harder to maintain as we age than upper body strength. And I'm wondering what the mechanism that causes this. The background is that I just turned 60, and after 43 years of lifting, my upper body presses and pulls are stronger than they've ever been, while even after some injuries. However, my legs and back strength is still significantly lower than it once was. I thought this was due to subconsciously limiting myself so that I wouldn't damage my back anymore than I already have. But your comment is now making me wonder if this is something else involved. So you go first.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are are a number of causes, right, driving sarcopenia, or the age-related loss of muscle tissue. And among those are declining hormone levels, not just testosterone, hyperinflammation, hyperoxidation, as well as declining mitochondrial function. Uh, and I think it's a pretty fair statement to say, right, if you sucked all the testosterone, estrogen, and insulin out of somebody, they not only would they have no more muscle, they'd be dead. Um, but realize, by the way, how important using these various over-the-counter anti-inflammatories and antioxidants are, particularly in maintaining mitochondrial function. So uh, the sarcopenia starts as early as your late 20s, early 30s, according to some studies. So all you youngsters out there listening, don't think this doesn't apply to you. In my mind, it just validates the fact that I was right to be taking antioxidants consistently since my mid 20s. Nevertheless, there's another driver of sarcopenia, and in particular the legs. There's this big decline in central nervous system efficiency, if you will. I've talked about it before. The message to contract muscles starts in the brain, runs down the spinal cord, traverses a nerve, telling the muscles to contract and or exert force. If that message isn't getting through like it used to, then yeah, you're going to incur muscle loss, particularly in the legs. Now, why is that? Well, let's think about it. You've been walking around this earth, vertically compressing the spine for 12 to 18 hours a day, every day, only resting when you sleep for years, decades, right? In fact, it's been said if you measure yourself shortly after getting out of bed in the morning, you'll find that you're up to an inch taller. So that's the kind of compression that I'm talking about, right? It all adds up. Now, picture your nerves being compressed virtually around the clock. After 4, 5, 6 decades or more of that, the nerves aren't going to fire like they used to, right? You got 100,000 miles on that car now, not 5 or 10,000. My advice to combat that, well, number one, you want to be training your legs regularly to quote unquote talk, so to speak, to your muscles to keep that message, as primed as possible. Certainly some form of inversion, like we discuss and have discussed for years, for at least, I'd say, at least 5 to 10 minutes a day. And find a good chiropractor and ask for something called I don't know if it's a thermoscan or a thermal scan. Maybe some people in the audience can help me out. I don't even know if they do it anymore.
It's a thermal scan. They do it for breast. They do it for breast tissue now too, instead of mammograms. It's called a thermal scan.
And essentially, at least when I had it done, it's like a traffic light. And for every vertebrae, there's green, yellow, and red. And if the nerves, if the message is getting through, it's green. If it's not and blocked, it's red. Obviously, yellow is somewhere in between. But it's an interesting, right? It's a very interesting way of looking at central nervous system function, and in particular, the way your brain talks to your muscles. Certainly, HRT, if you have lagging hormone levels, and I'm not just talking testosterone, right? Ideally, growth hormone has many, many benefits. And I think as much as you hear about the good that it does, it does even more. And I think that'll be borne out in future research because, yeah, they're doing it. This is a big deal. And for many people listening, the information that we're conveying may very well spell the difference between being able to ambulate, walk around, and go places in your later years, or not. Needing a cane, needing a walker or a wheelchair when the problem really gets out of hand. And I'm watching it happen now because I got a 76-year-old father who's lost virtually all of the muscle in his legs. And no matter how many times I say it, he can't find 5 minutes to do some, get in and out of his chair as many times as comfortably possible and work on up in that number. So it's a big deal. And, those are the causes. And, I think you have a very complimentary answer. I don't know if we got to the same place different ways.
I mean, Craig Hollander points out something else. And the reason I'm reading this now is because of what I'm going to say. So Craig says to Peter Kranokis, Kranotakis, that it could be cervical vertebrae also, which is the neck. This is good because he says that when he lays down, sometimes it gets worse. So that does show
That's a sign.
that it could be. And then, of course, I think it was Aiden Ray said, get a My Pillow and a pillow topper, because if you can shape your pillow so that your neck is straight instead of maybe crunched or hanging too far back, that could make the numbness in the hands when laying down. And this is a good point. I completely glossed over that comment. But this just goes to show you how important gravity is to pay attention to the body. So why the legs, Rob? Why not other vertebrae? Why not the cervical spine? Why aren't people getting weaker hands? I mean, gravity is not discriminate against the lumbar spine, the cervical spine, or any other portion of the spine. So would we not see the weakness transferring to other parts of the body?
Yeah, I think it stands to reason that if that really was the case, I still think it's the case. I still think it contributes.
I mean, I definitely agree with you. I think that there's if you have compressions in L4, L5, and below, then you probably are going to lose some strength in your legs. But it's not going to be a mystery because you're also going to have pain. You're also going to have numbness and tingling. So it's not just the strength that's going to go away. I really believe that, I've thought about this for a long time. Why the legs? Why the legs? Why the legs? Neuropathy attacks the legs. Weakness seems to occur in the legs. There's more going on here than just gravity. There really is. I really do believe it comes down to blood flow. I think there are things in our environment today that are causing us, let's just call it metabolic debris, causing small blood vessels that feed the nerves to shut down. And then those nerves shut down. You usually have sensation. You have hyperalgesia or pain. You have numbness. You have tingling. So there's other things that accompany this weakness. But you have to remember, how many times have we seen a pro bodybuilder who injured his back, pinched a nerve, and the back development just completely shuts down, right? Okay, so if when you shut the nerves down, you shut the ability not only to activate those muscle fibers, but to the intonation of the nervous system, the tonic state of muscle. This causes the muscle to atrophy. And when it's your whole entire leg, it's not just one thing. It could be L4, L5, but you're going to have pain and numbness along with it. But if you just have weakness in your legs and they don't grow anymore, I think you probably have a blood flow problem. And the fastest thing that you can do, in my humble opinion, and I'm going to prove this very shortly because I am literally embarking on an opportunity to rebuild myself and truly make myself younger. I would get yourself some BFR bands from B Strong, the leg bands, and I would put them on, and I would do cardio with them, and I would do a light leg work with them, because what you want to do is you want to increase both venous and arterial pressure in the legs so that it forces those little narrow blood vessels that either have clogged up or closed down to open back up again. And I predict you'll see changes in your leg. Now, it's not going to happen overnight, but I believe that if you use blood flow restriction on your lower legs and you do it sensibly, don't just get rope or a belt and cinch them off because that's stupid. But if you get yourself good bands like the ones that B Strong has, where you can look at the pressure you're using on each leg to make sure that they're both equal, and you're not completely occluding the blood flow entirely, I think that you'll start to see the strength in your legs coming back over the course of weeks and months.
It's an excellent theory. I mean, I have to hand it to you. That's a great piece of critical thinking. As it pertains to the central nervous system, I think you said, right, it's those blood vessels that feed
The nerves.
the nerves.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, in addition to all of the vertical compression of the spine and the discs and so on and so forth, we know blood flow, tanks too when you get older. The pipes, the pipes are not as wide open, right, as they used to be, and so the question becomes, how do you do that? How do you force them open wider? And yeah, I mean those BFR, man, that's a great idea.
You
I
gotta,
need
you
to
gotta,
do
you
it.
know, you gotta push back harder than you're being pushed in the one direction. That's the bottom line. You
Yeah.
gotta push back. Um, Now let's just go through some of these comments because we have some really intelligent comments here. I just want to get to. Um, Craig Hollander says for quadricep development, the squat outweighs the deadlift. I would agree with that. JG says, who has tried follistatin? I have. There was a guy named. I was just talking about him to somebody recently. There was a guy who introduced an egg yolk protein powder from fertilized chicken eggs, and it wasn't pasteurized.
Is it Alex Rogers?
No, Rick Green. His name was Rick Green,
Okay.
and I'm just going to mute your microphone for a second.
Okay, sure.
His name was Rick Green, and he started a company called Celldyne Biopharma in Texas. And it what they did was they got the FDA's approval to take unfertilized chicken eggs. I'm sorry, fertilized chicken eggs, but unpasteurized, and put them through a molecular sieve and literally sieve the follistatin out of the egg yolk and concentrate it and turn it into a protein powder. And I used it for a year and I saw amazing results with it. This was probably around when I turned 50. But the product got caught in a war amongst the investors, and today the product isn't around. There is a product out there today that claims to be that product, but it's not. It's just fertilized chicken egg yolk powder. It has not gone through the molecular sieve to concentrate the follistatin. But here's the thing about follistatin. You have to suppress myostatin by no less than 97% to see any growth at all in mature muscle. Not talking about an embryo, a baby born that's myostatin null. And as soon as you stop suppressing it by 97%, your muscle go back to the way they were. Why even bother? Why spend all that money on a product just to find out that it's going to stop working the minute you stop using it, and you're going to go back to your pre-supplement days? And this is funny. JG says Carl is glowing. Nice use of, yes, I know, but no, this isn't Milano 10-2. He says GHKCU and Milano 10-2. I am still using Restore Cells product, and my skin looks amazing. But I just got back from Mexico, and I sat in the sun every single day. Here's a question from Polo Dustino. Would blood thinners aid in that sort of rehab and or blood donation? In which sort of rehab? I'm not sure which rehab he's talking about. If he's talking about the blood flow thing, yeah, blood thinners can help. There's no doubt about it, but they're not going to solve the problem unless you got to blow those blood vessels open again. It's going to take more than just normal blood pressure and thinner blood. Okay, so he's asking about injectable peptide follistatin 344. Have not used it, and I wouldn't bother with it. I wouldn't use it because, like I said, no matter what you do with follistatin, once you stop, your muscles go back to where they were, and you have to take enough of it to suppress myostatin by 97%. That study was done by a university in upstate New York. I did that show probably 10 years ago, 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago. It's the pursuit of myostatin inhibition is a waste of time. You'll get enough myostatin inhibition just from using anabolics and training and eating and sleeping, and you won't lose that muscle. You won't lose it quickly. So that's my vote.
Myostatin has been the biggest failure since HMB in the supplement world, and it speaks volumes too. I think that the pharmaceutical companies that have been pursuing that and had in trials, nothing happening.
All right, let's take a quick commercial break, and we have the Blueprint tip of the day when we come back. Stay with us. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High quality, pasture raised, great tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose to tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/white oak and use the code superhuman to save 10% off your entire first order. If you've listened to Superhuman Radio for any length of time, you know I'm a big proponent of peptides. One of my favorites is GHKCU, the blue copper peptide. It has the ability to repair and regenerate more youthful expressions of skin cells, reversing the signs of aging. Restoracell's Stem Cell Awakening Serum, along with their other products, contain potent formulations of blue copper peptide and only the highest quality organic ingredients. Superhuman Radio listeners can now save 25% site-wide. Buy their complete set and receive a free exfoliating cleanser. Go to shrnetwork.biz/blue and use the code SHR25. That's SHR25. Remodel your skin today.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today. Most people have heard of phytoestrogens, but did you know there are beneficial phytoandrogens? The top source of these is pine pollen. It even contains trace amounts of testosterone and DHEA. If you're looking for a 100% natural testosterone booster, this is worth trying. Lots of men love it, and it even works for women. Lost Empire Herbs offers the highest quality wild harvested, non-irradiated pine pollen backed by a 365-day money-back guarantee. It works for you, or you don't have to pay for it with nothing to send back. Go to shrnetwork.biz/lost empire. Use code SHR. Get 15% off your order today. Are you 35 or older? Every year after puberty, your growth hormone decreases sometimes by 50% by the age of 35, and it only keeps going down from there. This affects everything from making it harder to recover from workouts, sleep, and a general loss of a sense of well-being. It also affects your ability to get and stay lean. BioPro Plus is the first of its kind 100% non-synthetic alternative to prescription synthetic growth hormone treatments. All the benefits without any of the needles or side effects and 100% safe. Previously only available through doctors, you can go to shrnetwork.biz/biopro, that's BIOPRO, and use code SHR30 for $30 off today.
You're listening to the Superhuman Channel. We're ripped and we're ready.
Welcome back. Well, we've had a great audience today, haven't we?
Yeah, a lot of questions, a lot of interaction. That's great.
What's the Blueprint tip of the day, Rob?
Tip of the day is some insight into how I formulate products. And a lot of this is coming from, I mentioned last week that I'm formulating a fat burner for women, and I got a lot of responses and questions from people. So this week, I thought I'd spin it off in a new direction, right? And give folks some insight into how I approach formulating product. I'm not sure how other people and companies do things, or even if there's a right or a wrong way to go about it. What I do know is that I have always formulated the best, most effective product I can without consideration for price or profit margin. And from what I'm told, that is precisely backward of what typical most supplement companies do. So they start off with a profit margin in mind, plus extra, right, to account for the various middlemen that they're distributors and so forth. And then they'll formulate to a retail price point that they want to achieve, let's say $1 a day. And then finally, they'll just, they use and order up the cheapest raws that they can get their hands on. That usually means China made materials. On the other hand, when I start, there are really only three things that I have in mind. Number one, it needs to work for its intended purpose. Number two, it needs to have a reasonable, preferably excellent safety profile. And three, it needs to be legal and FDA compliant, obviously. So right off the bat, right, there's a distinct difference in how I do things versus a lot of other companies. Uh, but to my mind, it's the right way to do things, so I'm not changing. The next thing I do is I consider the physiological mechanisms involved. So if the goal is to increase, let's say, the mind to muscle connection, give people faster recall and so forth, a lot of that's tied to acetylcholine levels in the brain, and so you need something to get those levels elevated and then extend the duration of action, which brings you to the available precursors to acetylcholine. There are multiple, as well as something that blocks the enzyme that breaks it down. Again, there are multiple. You can read the literature all day long about what's best, but you will quickly find that a lot of it is not correct. It just doesn't bear out in the real world. Uh, there are a lot more bought and paid for studies today, in my opinion. In plain English, you will probably have to order all of them or a lot of them to determine and test on yourself or other people or both which one is best. This is not cheap, right? Nor is it fast. Most companies don't bother, given the cost or the time frames involved. They just find something that looks good, right, and they roll with it. Frankly, there's more money put into the advertising campaign than there is the actual product or the research behind the product. So, so to my mind, this is not the right way to go about it. You can see this now with products like turkesterone and 20-hydroxyectosterone, which once again are being pushed to the moon. And why is that? Because most companies, and these are people that are new, I think, to the compound itself, they're looking in the literature and they say, oh, look at that. Turkesterone allowed for more leucine incorporation into the muscle, or the 20-hydroxyectosterone did. That's the second best one. Too bad in the real world it doesn't, or at least it doesn't do anything of note, even if it does do it. In fact, if you look hard enough at the literature, you're going to find a study that shows no increase in muscle strength or fat loss when additional leucine was used in the mix with those two ectosterones. So the bottom line here is you need to test things in the real world, and that takes time and money. More often than not, lots of it, right? Right now as we speak, I have 10 separate bottles of various ingredients for the fat burner that I'm working on. I've got 3 women testing out the stimulant part of it, and we hit pay dirt this morning because my wife came home after taking just one more cap as I instructed her. This was her 4th time, and she came bursting through that door, back from the gym, and she said, "Oh my God," she said, I can really feel it. Today was completely night and day. 4 of them were completely different than 3 of them. I feel fantastic. The energy and the focus and the concentration peaked at the 90-minute mark, and then it slowly tailed off and ended about 6 hours later, according to her, 6 or 7. So I think the good news is we have the stimulant part of the product pretty much down. But it remains a fat loss product, which means the next phase will be giving these women the fat loss portion of the product, and it needs to work. It needs to show visible, feelable results in 30 days or less, because after that, frankly, most people aren't sticking around. Okay? And in order to do this, in order to make a really good product, and you know this, Carl, because you did it with Thrive, the best ingredients cost more. And sometimes you have to go further and jump through more hoops than you otherwise would. I'm also going to warn you, because people have asked me, they want to get into the business and do this. I'll warn you not to cheapen things, because there's a surprising number of raw material manufacturers that will undoubtedly suggest that to you, as they did to me. It's tempting because your profit margin goes from here to here, right? And everybody's making more money. But whatever little money you make extra by going that route is quickly going to be forgotten, because you'll have squandered you and your product's reputation. And building a good reputation in this business is incredibly difficult, right? And it's so easily destroyed, especially in the day and age of social media, by making just one bad choice, by taking one shortcut. We talked before about shortcuts in training and where you go wrong there. Well, you take a shortcut like this in this business, in the supplement business, people will never forget it. So if you're interested in doing this or trying your hand at it, never waver on quality, ever. It may take time, but building a good reputation is going to serve you well in the long term, right? And probably in the short term too. Word of mouth, if you're going to create product, word of mouth is the most powerful advertising that there is. You just can't buy it. You have to earn it. So, here's the bottom line. Whatever you do in life, whether it's supplements or something else, commit to doing it the right way from the start. Because a solid product, right? Let's say Synthogen, I get hit by the beer truck today, and that product may just be my legacy. And you need to make sure that it's a legacy that you're proud of. We've had, we were we were given multiple opportunities to quote unquote cut the cost of production and increase the profit margin on the product. And to John's credit, and certainly it was obvious to me, no, we're not going to do that. And a lot of these guys are incredulous. One of them said to me, we were talking about tryptophan. He says, instead of using tryptophan, because they couldn't get it at the time, or that supplier couldn't, he says, we'll just use tyrosine. Nobody will know the difference. I'll know the difference, though. People will know the difference, because people will become acclimated to not just your product, but you and how you conduct business. And once you pull that trick and take that shortcut, forget it, man. Getting that reputation back is going to be very difficult. So that's a little bit about product formulation and how I do it. I'll freely admit my arrangement with most supplement companies, with the supplement companies I do formulate for, is quite different than how most companies go about it. I don't think they have 1099 employees, working on formulation and only formulation. I could be wrong.
So it's funny. I am so unimpressed with the emerging supplement industry on Instagram. Instagram seems to attract the biggest idiots in the supplement industry who clearly don't even understand biology. There's a company out there called Pure Health Research. It's on my Facebook wall. If you're a friend of mine, go to my Facebook wall. And they have a picture of a Pyrex beaker, and it looks like it has blueberries in it, like smashed up blueberries. And it says, an at-home way to make cells immortal. Now, why are you laughing? Tell me.
Nobody gets out of this world alive. Immortal.
That's not even. So do you know what they call immortal cells? Science has a name for an immortal cell. It's called fucking cancer. You don't want an immortal cell. You don't want a zombie cell. You don't want a cell that lasts forever. These people are friggin' idiots. I wrote on their wall, on Instagram, and as of an hour ago, it was still there. So I commend them for that. I said, we don't want cells to be immortal. We want a healthy apoptotic landscape where cells die on time and are replaced by new healthy cells.
That was news to them.
Cancer cells are immortal cells. Your marketing sucks. I mean, give me a friggin' break. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and this is another reason why, folks, I will be getting off the air around 2024. And I have this other project with Gunny. It's going great. I'm so excited about it. But I just can't stand it anymore. I can't stand people like Dave Asprey pimping every friggin' thing in the world except heavy resistance training, the only thing that has truly been linked to longevity in humans. I'm so tired of biohackers and fraudulent, I heard someone, I don't know who it was, someone who just did Mark Bell's show said that the most successful personal trainers are the ones that know nothing other than how to promote on Instagram. And that the best personal trainers are broke.
It's largely true in my experience.
I'm just tired of it. I just can't ignore it any longer. Like companies like this, like you don't want, cells are not supposed to be immortal. That's what a senescent cell is. That's what a cancer cell is. It doesn't die. It doesn't respond to apoptosis any longer. Like you don't want immortal cells. The people marketing this product are either completely blithering idiots or they don't care that they're lying to people.
Well, I think what's onerous is the latter, because you and I have been around a long time, right? I'll date myself, but decades for me, and we remember everything back to when the internet first came about and the bodybuilding forums sprang up. So we've seen the same scams over and over and over. And yes, I would agree with you that it seems as time has gone on, most of these companies, they'll make any statement that they feel is necessary that'll sell product with no ethical qualms whatsoever. The truth, that doesn't matter to them.
Yeah, don't ever let the truth get in the way of good marketing.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, if somebody buys their product because of the immortal wording that they just used, I'm sure they don't care at all that it's a complete fiction.
Think about who potentially will fall for this marketing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So if my cells are immortal, then I'm going to live longer and healthier. No, if your cells are immortal, they're either zombie cells or cancer cells. You're not doing good.
Yeah. Yep.
I can't take that.
Unfortunately, that's how it goes in today's world. There are some good companies. I don't want.
Oh, there's a lot of good companies. Bioptimizers, there's really, really good companies out there. But how do you traverse the advertising environment? And if you're the average person, know what's bullshit and what's not. The average person doesn't know what's bullshit and what's not.
Yeah.
In fact, the FDA depends on that. That's why they take the drugs that they take. Imagine, some of these drugs, the side effects are worse than the diseases that they're supposed to treat.
Yeah, but who's going to read the study that actually supports that? They won't. They probably wouldn't even know where to. So here's my goal. You heard it here. To get Gunny, which is now called the Gun Leash, by the way, because we did a focus group and determined that people didn't like the word Gunny. They didn't know what it meant. But Gun Leash, they understood, because it's a leash for my gun. Like, I can't lose my gun. Yeah, exactly. But my goal is in 6 years to sell the Gun Leash business for $1 billion and then find an island to lay on and I want to look like a piece of beef jerky with legs. Just lay in the sun every day and live a life without a cell phone. I will not be posting from the island. I will stay away from that. But
I'm just tired of it. Maybe that's what happens when you get old. You just don't have the energy to put up with the bullshit anymore, so you just disappear.
It's frustrating, but you know, we'll enjoy your company as long as you're around. Put it that way. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that don't want you to leave, but
Well,
you
my
need
shows
to
are
do
always
what's right
here.
for you.
The website, I'm just going to repurpose all my shows. I got almost 3,000 shows. We'll pick all the shows on cancer and take something out of each of them and put it together, and that'll be a new show.
Yeah.
So I'll be living from beyond the grave. I'll still be around.
Yeah.
But if you want to go someplace where there is not a lot of bullshit, go to CoachRobRegish.com and learn what it takes to truly be strong. Let's see, we have comments coming in. Thanks for the visual, Thomas Whittingham said. I guess he means the piece of beef jerky with legs. Yeah, that's going to be me. One big wrinkle. I'll be 99 years old and I'll be wrinkly. And they'll go, oh, my God, your skin looks horrible.
You
and I'll go, yeah, but I can still lift weights. I'm still strong. All right, look, that's it for today. We'll see everybody tomorrow with more Supreme Radio. Don't forget, CoachRobRegish.com. And share the show, please. Share the show. You never know who you're going to help. Okay, See you tomorrow. Take care.